Hi guys, today I'll be showing you how to use Playmaker, Kinect and Unity3d to make your own applications. I've been meaning to do this for a long time since I had the code written with some of my students over the last summer, so around Christmas time. But I moved to a different country and started my master's, so sorry about the delay. So to get started you'll need Playmaker, which is awesome. You'll also need Kinect with MS SDK. So this was created by a friend of mine called Ruben, and it's actually really good. It uses the standard Microsoft SDK, but he's just created a wrapper for it in Unity3d. And if you want anything like speech recognition or face tracking, you will need to get his additional Kinect Extras, and it's only $10. So the first one is free, which is awesome. It will do most of the things that you want. But if you want face tracking and that little bit extra, you'll have to get this one. So let's get started. So to start with, I've created a number of sample scenes this time around because I know from my previous tutorials I just show you guys but actually don't provide any packages, so I'm going to start providing packages with you guys, and then hopefully if I have time I'll also create some PDF documents, so you'll have the tutorial, the package and the written version side by side. And it just depends how much time I have because, as I said, I'm also doing my master's. So let's get started. Well, first of all, if you look under the Playmaker, once you install the package, you'll have a new one called Kinect SDK, and it will have a list of all the different things that you can do in here. So most of the things you can actually swap between first player and second player, since we're using the Kinect 1. The Kinect 2 I think should be coming out soon. So let's take a look at this first example. I'll go through all the sample scenes because they're actually fairly short. So what you'll need to do is on your main camera. So first of all, you should get familiar with the Kinect with MS SDK. I will go over it in these tutorials as well though. So for example, you'll need the Kinect Manager script, and you normally dump this on your main camera, and this will give you a few options. The main thing that you're probably interested in is the feedback to make sure it's working. So to do that you'll need this one, like display color map, display skeleton lines, and then the other thing that is probably the most important is down here at the bottom where it says player 1 gestures and player 2 gestures. Any gestures that you want to use, you have to actually assign them to the players. So you just specify the size. So in this case we have 2 gestures, which is right hand and left hand cursor. And if we look at the setup for this, it's actually just one action. And in the samples as well, you'll also see that there will be like a description in the FSM telling you what it does. So in this case, we drag in the action. We sometimes found that it didn't work unless we went specify game object and then drag the main camera down. I don't know why that is. It just happens. So this one uses GUI textures, so you can drag and drop it in, and then you can specify if you want either hand, right hand, or left hand. The thing to note though is that you will have to enable, for if it's first person or second person, you will need to add these right hand and left hand cursors. Okay, because we'll be tracking your left and right hands through the Kinect. And then you can specify one person or two person, and then you can do every frame or one frame. With this type of thing, you'll probably want every frame all the time. The only reason why I have it left it in is just as an option. It'd probably be easier to take it out. So let's hit play. And what I'll do is I'm going to go in front of the Kinect and show you how this works. So once I stand back, you can see that I'll pop up with the line tracking, and I can move my right hand around to move the screen, and then I can use my left hand as well. Okay. The dominant hand is actually the right hand, so if two hands are fighting for each other, the right hand will always win. So that's all you need to do for Kinect 2D cursor. The 3D cursor works exactly the same way, except that this action allows you to use a 3D model, and what you do is you actually specify depth. So you drag in the cube that you want to use as the 3D, oh sorry, you drag in the game object that you want to use, so in this case it's a cube. You specify the distance from the camera, and you specify the camera you want to use. So this looks a bit confusing because we specify the Kinect Manager. So remember, the Kinect Manager is where all the information is being pulled from the Kinect, so we drag and drop it onto our main camera. We still have the right and left hand cursors selected. And then in our Playmaker FSM, what we do is we drag and drop the link to the Kinect Manager, which in this case is main camera, and we also then specify the camera that we want to have the 5 meters of distance to. So Unity uses meters, so we say, well, we want the hand cursor, or the thing we're tracking in 3D, to be 5 units in front. You can specify this 10 or 1, however many you want. And you can see we also have right hand, left hand, either hand, and then we also have player 1 and player 2. Okay, so I'll just show you this working. So same thing again. The other thing to note with this is that it does stay within the bounds of the screen, so you don't have to worry about it going off screen. The next one is iTie. So this sample uses one script as well. Oh, it's missing it. Don't need a transition. So what this one does is you feed it in the background that you want to use as the texture. So in this case we have a GUI texture in the background, and what we're going to do is when we hit play, you'll see that it will fill the background as it was in the iTie. For those of you who don't remember iTie, yeah, I don't know how to, it's kind of like the first Kinect without the tracking. So this will stretch to fill the screen, but notice if you then move it, it will go off because it does it on the first time around. It gets the screen size, which isn't going to be a problem when you make your own applications. So that's how you can do sort of an iTie looking thing if you want to connect in the background. The next one is the histogram cutout, and what that means is it's just using, it's doing a sort of a cutout of player 1 and player 2. So once it detects a player, it will then map it to the cube. So again, what this one is doing, this has two actions. So it gets the texture from the Kinect, and then we just apply it to the cube. So you can see the way the cube is black, and then if I step in front of the cube, in front of the Kinect, you can then see I'm appearing as on top of the cube texture. So that's if you want to cut out the person from the background and use it in. That's that one. I'll just double check this iTie one again to see if I think it was only one. Yep, so that was only one action. Gesture control. So I'm going over these pretty quick because they are just single actions. So you can combine them and use them in most of your games and do anything you want. So in this example, we're actually using the gesture controls from the Kinect. So the gestures are defined in this script here. So you'll have to list what gestures that you want to use. So in this case you can see right hand, left hand, raise hand, and so on. You can add your own gestures and create them, but it will require some hard coding. So if you want to create your own gestures, I have to go into this one. So the Kinect Manager is the wrapper, and that gives you all the functions. So I'm showing you this in case you just want to write in C# or JavaScript. You'll be accessing all of these instead of the Playmaker code. Okay. But the one that you want to access is in the Kinect wrapper. And down at the bottom, so here you can see the list of gestures. You'll need to add the name of the gesture that you want to create. And then at the very bottom, you can see we just have a case statement. So you have a switch and it gets in the gesture data, and then in here it just actually works off the joint. So if this joint is greater than this joint or below this joint, so you can see it's using the Y and so on, and then just float. So I'm not going to go into how to create your own gestures, but if you want to make them, this is where you sort of add them. But most of the gestures that Roomba provides are pretty good. I don't think you would need anything else unless it was very custom. So this example shows you how to use those gestures. So in our case, we're using the raise right hand, raise left hand. So when I raise my hand, I wanted to change the color red, and then when I raise my left hand, I just want to go back to the original color. So I'll show you that now. So I raise my right hand, it goes red, and then I raise my left hand, and it goes back again. So just make sure that when you're using the Kinect that it can see you as well. You will get some really strange things happening. And that's why it's always a good idea when you're first running your applications or debugging to see the Kinect lines. And if you make your applications and you actually want to have that debug screen in it, it will actually be compiled into the exe. So if you want the players to see the skeleton lines or the color map image alongside your game, that will work. And the next one is joint position. So this one just shows you how you can get a particular joint from the Kinect. So if you want hip, spine, or neck, and then you can save it in a vector 3, and then you can put it to viewport or screen or world, and then you can have player 1 or player 2, and then you can specify the camera to use in every frame and so on. So in this case, you might only want to grab it once, not every frame. It depends on what you want to do, and in this case we're setting it to the cube. So we're doing the right hand, and you can see that it follows the cube around. Or the cube follows my hand around. So you can mess around with the different viewports and get the different positions, but you can see how it's being stored in the vector 3. Joint rotation. So this does exactly the same thing, except you're getting the rotation of the joint. Okay. So this one you can see the rotation from the Kinect is kind of strange, so just be careful when you're trying to use that data in general. The next one is Kinect Snapshot, which might be handy. So if you want to take a photo, it will be saved in a texture. So to show you that working, we hit play. You press the A key and it will take a photo, and if you want to see the photo, you just click in the variables and you can see it's saved in Snapshot. So that's if you want to, and that's that area there. So you can see that it is working. Okay. So that's that one. Next one is Kinect Speech. This one requires a bit of setup before you can use it, and as I mentioned at the start of the video, you will need to get Kinect Extras for this to work. So this one doesn't actually use a Kinect Manager script. This one uses a Speech Manager script. So you drag it in and then you can specify the language code. So you can find out from the Kinect which one you want to use. And I think you can set it to any language, but you just have to find this code inside. And then you need to specify the grammar file. So the grammar file is located, so this is the assets folder where you have everything in it. So we have, say, Kinect. These are the Kinect actions and the examples that you'll get. And on the one above, you'll get this thing called speech grammar file. So if you want to edit this file and put in your own stuff, one program I suggest you download is this one. So download Sublime Text 2 Editor. Okay, run it, and then what you can do is you can drag and drop it in. So for example, you can see in this one we have these things called tags, like forward, back, left, right, and so on. So all you'd have to do is copy this and then create your own one. So in this case, what I've done is I've created two tags called green and red. So tags are kind of like speech actions, if you want to think of it that way. So they're ways of defining different ways you can talk to the Kinect and get it to do something. So for example, we have these items, and you can see I have green, greens, turn green, change color to green. These are 4 different ways that I can get this green command to work. So that's kind of handy when you have people coming in and testing your system, and you might find someone that says on or turn on, or you might say power on, and people have different ways of what they feel is natural for them to interact with your application. So what you can do is you can just listen to what they say and then just add them to this file. Okay, so once you've created your your speech file, what you'll need to do is you'll need to actually put the name of the speech file in here. So it goes off as I mentioned before, on the folder above. So on the same level as the assets folder, we have library and project settings. You'll need to create your file and place it here, and then in Unity in this speech manager, it will find that file and link it in. So the speech and FSM will look something like this. Okay, so again, it's just one action, and in this action all you need to do is you need to just specify what phrase or what tag you're listening to. Okay, so in this example what we have is we have a cube and we set its default color, and then we have 2 Kinect speech commands. One is green and one is red. So if I say anything in the green section, so any of these 4 commands, I want to trigger this event and I want to turn the cube green. I want to wait 3 seconds and then come back. Okay, and then if I say anything in the red column, it should turn red. So let's just test this out. Green. Turn red. Turn green. So that's a very simple way of how to sort of use the Kinect to Speech, and as I mentioned before, you can use the language code to set it in. So I think that even has Australian accents and American accents that you can find, that it will work better for those people using your applications. The next one is color map. So let's take a look. So this one takes a live video feed and puts it on a texture of a game object. So if you didn't want to have it as a background, but you wanted to have it, say, on as a TV that you have in the game view, or a window view that you have set up in Unity, this is the action that you would use. So this is just taking my room and mapping it to all sides of the cube. So the way it's working is we get the texture and we store it in sorry, we get the video feed from the Kinect and we store it in the texture, and then we just map that texture onto the cube. Okay, so that's why you'll see 2 actions here. One just gets the texture and the second one just applies it. Player lost and found. So this one is this one can be handy when you want your application to pause or stop for a little bit. So the way this one works is that you specify the player you want to track. So once the player comes in this case, we then turn the cube to green. But once the player leaves, we'll turn the cube to red, and then once they come back in, we'll turn the cube to green. Okay? So this doesn't require any setup in the Kinect Manager. You just need to have a Kinect Manager in there, and then just specify it again in the Kinect Playmaker action that you're using. So let's show you this working. So it's found me, and the cube is now green. And if I walk away, the cube is red. And I come back in, the cube is green. Okay. That's that one. The last two is 2D cursor. Okay. So this one is the same as the first two I showed you, which is 2D and 3D cursor, except you can then use two hands instead of one hand for tracking. Okay. So again, in the manager you will need to specify right hand and left hand cursor, and the Kinect action for this is just specify the right hand and left hand cursor you want to use and the player you want to use, and make sure you have every frame ticked on. Okay, so that's that one working. And the last one is this one. Okay. So this one has a similar action. It's we specify where to get the Kinect Manager from, and we specify the camera we want to use for the distance. And we have the two 3D objects for left hand and right hand cursor. So I'll hit play. So that's just an overview of all the samples and how to get the Kinect working. I will probably just upload my videos in more of a raw format rather than a redefined one. I'm not sure how long this video has gone on for, but it just means that I can just make you guys videos and pump it out rather than me worrying about spending say 3 hours to try and refine it down to 5 minutes. At least that way you guys have the information, you can do what you like with it. So remember that you will need Playmaker. You can get it for 50% off if you're a student, so just go to their website, which is Playmaker. And if we go store, so you can get it for 50% off, and they do have sales from time to time, which is really cool. And so you need Playmaker, you'll need to connect with Microsoft SDK, and then you will need to connect the extras as well. Okay, that's just for the speech part that we did, and then it also supports face recognition, which I'll look into in the future. Okay, that's all for me guys, and I hope this video helps you.